Hey y'all, it's Kaylee McMahon here with RE by Kaylee and Jason Bible with Mr. Texas Real Estate. Today we're going to be going over a portfolio update. We're going to be talking about war stories, things that we've learned, and discussing all the fun stuff. So let's get going. Let's talk about current stuff.
Yeah, so I'm excited. We're finally closing on our 4 beach houses in Surfside. We closed that on Friday. Really excited about that particular deal. So it's a deal we're going to do Airbnb. Actually, it's got short-term rentals in it now. It's 4 properties on 1 plot of land, and you can't subdivide them. So the challenge we had is when I went through a traditional lender, they looked at it as like kind of a hodgepodge of one big single family. So the appraisal came back like $100 grand low, which didn't make any sense at all. So we went back to the seller. We have it under contract for $330 grand. And it's bringing in currently $65,000 a year gross. So not bad.
Yeah.
So we went back to the seller and we said, hey, would you owner finance this to us? And she said, absolutely. How about 20% down? We'll do 7.5% interest for 20 years on 20-year AMs. We're like, perfect. And she said, by the way, we've now upped our rent. We're bringing in $1,800 a week in gross for short-term rentals. So that property is going to do exceedingly well for us. And we're paying, I mean, when you really look at it, we're paying $100,000 over actual value. I mean, well, I guess after you put the 20% down, it's really only $30,000 or $40,000 in negative equity. But it's going to bring in like $3,500 a month in net cash flow. So a pretty sweet little deal. We're looking at possibly Airbnb-ing it, but right now it's working pretty well as a short-term rental property. So what are the deals that you've got kind of in the works? I know you're going to talk in generalities.
Yeah.
Can't let everybody know what you're doing because you're sneaky like that. But
No, so my frickin' SEC attorneys, they just keep me safe. So yeah, I can talk in generalities. So the most recent thing right now, Airbnb again. Yeah. There's a property that was being wholesaled north of Love Field Airport in Dallas, and there's a handful of a few Airbnb properties in that area, but not a whole lot. And they're renting for $60 to $100 a night per room. So you know, or a lot more for a whole house. So we found a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. And basically did some math and figured out that it would be a really good property to Airbnb, especially it's right by the airport, like within a 5-minute drive of your gates. So, you know, and then also I thought about this, Love Field doesn't have any lounges, so if you have a layover or something, there's nowhere to go except for, or you know, an overnight layover, you have to go get a hotel nearby. So something that's $60 a room, or maybe we do less, not quite sure what we're gonna do at first. I think we're gonna try to do it as a house first and then per room. And then anyway, yeah. So
what do you think on that 4-bed? What do you think net how that's all going to work out? What do you guys think you'll end up making a month?
Well, so currently we're going through the process of trying to decide between 2 lenders. So we're under contract, and our closing date is set now for the 23rd. Yeah, and so we're going through sending both lenders all the information just to double check what our interest rate is going to be, just to double check, you know, all that. So we pick one at the end of the day, because that depends. I mean, because what our plan is to do a hard money loan, do it for 3 months, and then flip it to a perm, you know, once we are finished with the renovations, and then have a long-term financing debt situation, and then I guess refi at that time too, obviously, because it'll be a way lower interest rate. So. So I can figure it out, and if you talk, by the time I can come back to me, I can.
Are you going to do all the math there? Carry the 1 and all that other stuff.
That's what my calculator's for.
We've got a handful of other deals that we are under contract that we're expecting to close. We're buying a 27-unit apartment complex. We should close it next week. We are buying it for about $895,000, so $895,000, $190,000 in rehab, and we've got a subject to appraisal at $1.5 million. And currently the property is under rent somewhere between 50 and 60%. So we brought in a capital partner to do a portion of the capital, and the other piece is going to be a bridge loan. So we're going to be about $250,000 out of pocket. So we've got a partner who brings cash, and then we've got this bridge loan. It's a short-term loan that allows us to rehab the property. Then we're going to turn around and refinance it into a 30-year small balance portfolio program. So that's that property should be closed, like I said, in about another week or two. So we're pretty excited about that one. All right, you doing some math here? What do we got?
No, I got distracted.
Oh, okay, you got distracted.
I was actually listening to your
bridge loan. You're a 27
loan.
unit, and you're like, how does that work again?
Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty cool little property. And I've closed a handful of duplexes in the last month or two. In fact, while we were sitting here, I just got a text from another guy about a duplex. In Houston right now, you know, duplexes are considered single family, and duplexes are currently valuing at somewhere between $80,000 and $110,000 a door. So if you've got 2 doors in a duplex, the shorthand math, this is kind of a rule of thumb. We did a rule of thumb show earlier. That property, the duplex, is worth about $160,000. So a lot of these properties in Houston are $800,000, $900,000, $1,200 a month rents on a duplex. So the properties, I bought 4 in a section of 40 of them. So I've got about 10% of the market, and rents are up 30%. So we have already rehabbed about half of them, and now we're in the process of refining the other half. But the rents have gone from about $690 a month, $720 a month, to just under $1,200 a month. We released one at $1,190 and another one at $1,135. So what's been really fascinating for us is every duplex we buy, we put a 30-year fixed rate mortgage on it, and it's cash flowing about $1,000 a month net. I closed one about 3 weeks ago that's been a ton of fun. I had a private lender in one of our masterminds that said, hey, I'm just trying to earn 9% on my money. Like, I just want 9%. I said, okay.
All day.
I said, you want to do this? You want to do this duplex? And he said, sure, let's do it. So he put all the money in. I'm all in for $135K. He's getting 9% interest only, and it's cash flowing about $720 a month net. And what's interesting is on this particular piece of property, it's a large lot. So we're going to put another duplex right next to it because they're renting for at least $900 a door. And I think we're going to be able to build it for about $115,000. $115,000. $115,000, $1,800 a month rent. That works all day long in Houston, Texas.
Wow. That's pretty great. So
not bad.
Coming back to the numbers.
So your Airbnb, what do you think you're going to make an Airbnb?
So I pretty much based it on, I didn't even put into it the cash that we're going to pull out once we flip it to a perm. I just said, okay, perm financing. Basically, it's going to be $2,700 a month minus expenses, minus the mortgage, PITI. So it'll be about $1,900 a month cash flow.
That's not bad.
No.
And what's the ARV on that thing?
And that's me saying we only rent it half the month, not all the time.
Yeah.
And that's me saying that we only charge the minimum $60 a unit, and no cleaning fees, nothing else.
So at $1,900 a month net, what's the ARV on that thing?
It's about what we're going to build it up to, 160. But actually, now that we changed, we're going to add more to the roof. We're going to, because I had to go through 4 different contractors to figure out exactly what level of repair I wanted to do, because I really didn't want to do it all the way like we're going to sell it. But it just kind of ends up being that way. And a girlfriend of mine, Stephanie Reed, she's got a Stephanie Reed company. Her guys run real lean. Like, I mean, and you look at her work and all the stuff she's done in Preston Hollow and different areas of Dallas, she does a great job. I mean, and everything, like her foundation's warranted for life, you know, it's a $5,000 foundation. And I'm like, well, how many piers and how many beams and how many, I mean, everything the other guys are going to do for almost $8,000, you know what I mean? So she just finds things like this, that all the mechanical, electrical, all that stuff to get it to where it's a reasonable price and save us a lot of money to where we're like, well, F it, we'll go ahead and just update the whole thing, you know? So I put it as 160 will be all our cash into it, but at that time, once we update all of it, it'll be worth 180 to 199.
So let's just take it to a $200,000 house that you're making $1,900 a month net on. That's what I keep telling. That's what I keep telling folks. I'm like, Airbnb is the way to do rental properties that just produce more cash. And how many folks out there?
The renters are less destructive too.
Oh, they're way less destructive, right? So how many folks out there would love to make $1,900 a month on one property? It really is, Airbnb really is an amazing, it's an amazing opportunity to do really well on a handful of properties. And you don't have to own 100 of those to get really wealthy. Now, if you were to rent that out as a long-term rental, what do you think it would make? $300 a month? $400 a month?
Let's see, because we're going to do the 1% rule, right?
Well, if it was 1%, yeah.
So $1,800 a month minus my mortgage. So $300 and then take away expenses. So if there's
so probably negative cash flow, huh?
Yeah.
That's a negative cash flow deal. But the other thing that's nice is if you are not renting it out, right? It just doesn't rent for enough. So I think that's one of the challenges on those more expensive properties. We've always said that once you start to get north of about $150,000, that price point above $150K isn't really well suited for single family rental properties. It's really below that market where that's really good for single family rentals. So when your house goes from $140,000 to $180,000 when it's appreciated, that might be a time to look at Airbnb. So is this y'all's first Airbnb project, or is this something?
Me and Steven together, yes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I've done one myself before. I had a single unit in a building and did that, and it was fine.
I think I heard this horror story on a Facebook Live before.
Yep.
This would be a good one to tell one time for the Propelio folks.
God, okay, here we go.
A Propelio, sorry. I'm gonna get it right.
Okay. I don't know, where do I start? What do you remember from it?
So you had a guest that was firing a firearm that broke a water line that flooded essentially the apartment complex, and then they found you liable for a tenant, if you will, but it wasn't really a tenant, it was a guest, and Airbnb stepped in and covered it.
Yeah. So it was kind of a lot more complicated than that, but yeah, so the 30,000-foot view, and it was insane, like how long it took for the whole thing to get figured out. It happened October 21st, or 12th, October 12th, and then it didn't get finished being resolved until like 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
And what is this, April, you know?
Yeah.
So quite a while, but it was a scary situation, I'm not gonna lie, because I mean, the guest that was in there, like Airbnb was supposed to vet these people. They're supposed to do a background check. They're supposed to have their ID. They're supposed to also have their passport. And this was a guest that was pre-approved essentially, like to come and stay at your place. I forget what they call that.
It's like an automatic booking, right?
Yeah. When they've had so many good bookings or whatever, and they have all that information from that person, they'll let them just auto book your place. So I was out of town and out of cell service when that happened. So I had no idea, and like they had all the login instructions to get in, so they really didn't need me for anything. But yeah, so that happened, and it went through the main plumbing line in the building, and it flooded my unit plus 11 other units in the hallway, and it was nuts. But yeah, at the end of the day, the building, the apartment had their commercial insurance. I had insurance of my own on the unit. Plus, Airbnb also offers a $1 million host protection guarantee, and I was actually really. The process didn't get escalated correctly, so that's something. If you guys want to message me, I can let you know what the name of the internal department is. You need to just ask for that first, because there's so many little departments inside Airbnb. I can't remember what it's called, like adjustments or something, but anyway, that's the person you need to talk to first to escalate your case faster, and then they will pay, you know. So that was something that was a relief at the end of the day, was that I was like, we're gonna have to litigate over this, and I'm gonna have to deal with paying for all the repairs out of pocket. And anyway, so the commercial insurance on the building took care of the actual building, and then as far as my unit and any extra damage, Airbnb covered. So so that was the good news in the situation.
So what was the total damage? Do you know what the total number was?
I know their invoices for the repair work were about $60,000, and then I don't know how much they had to pay for maintenance though, because there was overnight guys that came in to pump out the water, and they're paid double overtime or whatever. So they came in and sucked out water that was like knee high overnight, and then they were still in the building for a couple of weeks after that, or for at least a week, because they had to have these dehumidifiers put in everywhere. Then plus these like little plastic lines put into each unit that were sucking water out of the floor into somewhere else. I don't know. It was sucking it out of the floor, and it was dripping into the sink. Anyway, so they had that for quite a while. So I have no idea what they paid in maintenance cost. That's probably a lot.
So the other interesting thing for all the insurance folks out there, so all of the tenant insurance. So of course it ruined all the stuff in all the tenant spaces, right? So they were going to subrogate the claim, meaning they would then go after you. They're not. They're going after Airbnb to subrogate their claim because of the cause of the losses was from your unit. So it wouldn't surprise me if that loss was $250,000, $300,000 when you put it all together with all the stuff that got destroyed.
Because they kept asking me, they're like, have any of the residents hit you up and asked you, to cover their stuff? And I guess no. I mean, no one ever asked, are you going to cover anything? Some people must not have had their things really ruined. I mean, I think that my unit was the worst. Obviously, it was the walls and the floor and all this, but as you go down the building, obviously there's less and less water, so it may have just been like their flooring and carpeting and stuff, and so the apartment probably replaced it, and Texans are pretty gracious, so I think it was just like, just take care of the damage and whatever, so it wasn't that bad. But they were willing, both were willing to add that, as far as what they'd cover. Airbnb kept asking, and then plus my personal insurance too, they kept asking, if you hear anything, I need you to send us that information right away, and we'll start that.
So I'll give you guys the last one. We're under contract for a beach house right now down in near the Corpus area. Beautiful beach house, and we started doing the math on it. We actually own a handful of other assets down there in South Texas, so we wanted to have an office, but we didn't want to have a lame office, so like in an office building somewhere. So we bought this beach house. It's really interesting. It's got like a garage apartment it's a full suite where it's got bed, bath, kitchen, all that. And then the main house on the first floor has 2 separate bathrooms and bedrooms.
Cool.
And then on the I guess you'd call it the master floor, that's where the kitchen and everything is at, and then the master bedroom's off to the left over here. That's where the kitchen, dining room, all that other stuff is. And then it's got a crow's nest that's built up all around the property, all the way to the roof. So you can see, you ought to go back and see that video. You can literally see over all the other houses. The house at the end, I think, is $2.5, $3 million somewhere there. So you can see over that. You can see all your neighbors. You can see all around there. There's a wildlife kind of refuge around it too. So we're picking that up for $245, I want to say. Needs about $65 in work. We did the math, and if we rent it for 10 to 15 weeks a year, it'll be completely paid for the rest of the year.
Nice.
So we're going to turn that into, we're going to Airbnb it when we're not there, and we're going to turn it into our office when we're down in that submarket. So really excited about that one. For those of you who have to get an office space, one of the things that you stayed at one of our properties where you could turn part of it into an office and the other part you Airbnb it, and essentially pays your office expense.
Yeah, that's
which
great.
Which is pretty sweet. That's how you
want
to do it. Yeah.
And
you get all the single family appreciation, and it's really easy to finance a single family house, like a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, and it's your office. It's just a really cool way to do it. So that's all I've got for the portfolio up to date today. You got anything else for him?
I've got a couple apartments that I am involved with right now, and so on those we're really close on one of them as far as being able to close. The other one a little bit further away. So both of the 2 different buildings have had their own set of challenges. Each one, like when you're buying in a small market, a lot of people are pretty afraid of going off of the assumptions that we were talking on a prior show about, because when you have a big building, those assumptions are, we base those on the current market, and in a bigger market, with little ones, they can shove expenses in different places, and you really need to look at the actuals of every little thing, knowing exactly what their insurance cost is, exactly what, their taxes were, exactly what their expenses are, where everything's going. And then, when you have questions about something, being able to ask the seller, what is this, and put them in the correct space. Like this last building, there was a huge depreciation expense that was added, and that's not an expense. Like, that's not something that goes inside your NOI column. So that's something that was, when I saw the expense, I was like, these are huge, like super high. But when I dug in as far as like the P&L, and I was able to see that expense that was added in there, it needed to be taken out. So that was something. So a lot of people, like I said, don't like the small building idea because of those things. But if you're willing to put in the work and really go dig deep and find the answers to those questions, and you know exactly what the numbers are, so it's not that big of a deal.
So, well, cool deals. So we'll give you guys an update next month on how these deals went. We'll share with you numbers, challenges we had, things that we found. Maybe they were more profitable than we thought they were. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Like, comment, share down below. We'll get to those questions as soon as the show's over. Thanks for watching.